Okay, got all the covers straightened up now. So get all the dents out of them. So now we can actually put a motor together. Probably should check these here real quick to make sure they're not damaged either. Everything else around here seems to be bogus. Like that one right there is bad. So much for being ready to go, alright? Looks like it's just the one. It's just right here is bad, so little quickie right here on the side of the workbench. That's what they make these workbenches for right here, for quickies. I went all the way around because it was buckled down also. See how it's, oops, camera's over here. This isn't very flat, so. And this is not really very good for beating on because it springs up a lot, but it works. Around a couple times. Where you at? So you can see how it's now pretty square. It's a little bit uneven, but a lot better than it was. So you lay it on a flat, hard surface to get a better idea of what it looks like. So in our case, that'd be over here. So, and it's still pretty crappy. Oh, there's a new tool right there. I like this new tool. I just found the right hole for doing this deal. Look at that. There, that's my new tool. I like that. Now it's good and flat. Now. Yep. Pretty good. Yep. My new favorite tool there. See, it only cost a couple grand. We got one. In stock. See, you always find whatever's laying around, whatever works best. That's a new one. I liked it. Okay, so now we can put this back together. We've got all these put together wrong, so we already did that. Cover, spring, washer against spring to push on cork correctly. Goes like that. Tapered side goes against the cork. Flat side goes against the bottom. Make sure it goes inside here and doesn't bind up. That's good. If it binds up, you have to grind the cork a little bit until it will go correctly. If the cork is all jammed up in there, it won't work. See, every one of these is put together wrong because they don't know what they're doing. I think I know who did it, but the name will remain anonymous. But it might be the owner. Not that I would ever tell them that. Yeah, I probably would. Okay, there we go. Those all work now. Okay, so we got 4 covers, we got 4 tops, we got 4 push rods. Damn, we got everything we need. We can actually put a motor together. Jeez, how'd that happen? You already rolled the push rods, they were straight. Last thing you do is you check the balls up here and make sure they're not chewed up. They all appear to be halfway decent. This one's got a little surface rust on here. We'll put that on the bottom where it doesn't matter. Goes in the inside lift, will be fine. So we roll across the workbench, nice and even. They're good. Okay. Do not forget to put the corks in the bottom and the top. Very important. They will definitely leak if you do not have these in there. Even after you straighten them. Okay, so there's 4 go on the bottom. 4 go on the top. And we already got the 4 in the middle. Takes 12. They're all the same. Except for manufacturer differences. There's actually a lot of different ones out there. Different materials, different sizes, different ages. Okay, those are all up in there now. So now we can go ahead and put it together. Okay, I already know I'm on top dead center on the compression stroke, so these 2 valves are closed. These 2 lifters are not closed, they're up in the air a little bit. See how this is higher than this one over here? That means this one's open, that one's almost all the way down, this one's open. So that's the overlap stroke, this is the compression stroke. So, when you're on the compression stroke, that's when I adjust both valves. Because I want the valves closed when the motor fires. Very important that you have a motor that works. Okay, so we're going to figure out how to put the worst covers. Okay, worst cover, and goes in a row. This is the best cover because you can see this the most. I think this has some kind of a stupid ass XR pipe on or something. It kind of goes like this, so it's going to hide most of this anyway. But this one's going to probably be in the open. So I'm going to put the best looking cover right there. Okay, first thing I do is put a little oil on the push rod tips. Do it on both tips because both tips are dry. So put a little oil on there. Once again, too damn close, you can't see anything. Okay, then we take our good cover, stick it inside the push rod, put it up into the motor. Hopefully it goes in. Barely. It just drug across the adjuster as it went in. Okay, you gotta lift the lifter up with your fingers and make sure the push rod's all the way up inside the rocker, and then tighten up the adjustment screw on the bottom. Get oil all over my fingers now. Okay, so this will be fun to do. Let's see, I've got special clips for doing this. I like clips, some people like hooks, doesn't matter. Okay, what you want to do is make sure that the push rod is up inside the rocker arm. So you push it up there and wiggle it, make sure it stays in. And then the bottom one in here, you make sure it's all the way in here. Then you tighten the adjuster up just a little bit until you're at 0. Then usually what I do is I go a little bit past 0, which means you got pressure on it. And then you adjust the lock nut, and hopefully it'll unscrew. There we go. If you're lucky, it won't be tight. Or at least not super tight where it unscrews the push rod. This isn't going to go by my fingers. Nope, too tight. It's just enough I can't do it with my fingers. So it takes a long time to do it this way because we have limited access to get in here. We got crapping away here, crapping away over here. So you just go one flat at a time. I think it's loosening up. There we go. Now these are tapered jam nuts, which is the best way of doing it. See the split nut? That's not broken, that's split. So the tap is tapered, the nut's tapered under there. So when you jam that into the lifter, it squeezes it tight. So the harder you tighten it up, the tighter it compresses against the thread. It will not unscrew. All these new push rods, they just got flat nuts and they will come unscrewed all the time. Because they don't know how to make them correctly. Too much effort to do it correctly. Okay, notice how the adjustment screw now moved. Okay, so right now we got clearances on our push rod. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move it until I hit 0. And we'll back it up a little bit. Let's go over here with the camera over here and see if you can see what's happening over here. Because I have to work on this other side. Okay, so I'm going to hold this one, hold a little bit of drag on it. Tighten this up a little bit. Push rod's now tight. Find a spot where it just loosens up. Just starting to loosen up a little bit. See how it's getting loose? It is loose if you take the cover off. Okay, so you want to find a spot where that gets tight. Okay, right now you get a little bit of drag, a little heavy drag. That's a free spin. Now being a new motor, you want to make this loose. I go one flat loose on a new motor. So you go about halfway with that one. You take the lower one, jam them together. Tighten both up together so they're both tight. So now this has one full flat of looseness in it. Here, with the up and down in it. As the valve, as soon as you start this up, that valve will pound. It'll drop up in the head further, which will tighten, takes the clearance out of this here. So you get about 2 to 3 startups, and you have to come back and readjust these valves again. A lot of times they'll tighten up on you even further. If you adjust them correctly right now, as soon as you start the motor, the valves will be tight. It won't restart again, unless you have electric start. If you kickstart, it won't probably start again. Kickstart requires too much suction to suck fuel in the motor. Electric start, you spin fast enough, it sucks in on its own. It's one of the reasons why kickstart bikes are hard to start. They don't like tight valves. Okay, that one fit right in there. So we unadjust the screw here. See how far it goes up. So always make sure you got the push rod up in the rocker arm. It will go up there and stick up in the top and make the valve go up and down. It might be in there and it'll go pop and come out. And it gets really loose. Okay, that's our 0 point right now. So same deal. A little tight. Let's see if we can get this nut off here. Alright, this one goes down because this is a hard one to get to. Look at that. Okay, so we know I made that extra tight, so we'll loosen up a little bit. Tighten this up a little bit over here. Onto the floor. Good place for it. See, it's tight, but I can still move the top adjuster. It's not torqued. There it goes. I just got loose. So I'm going to go half a flat. And then we're going to tighten both of these for another half a flat. That'll give me a full flat. Now if you tighten both of these together, you can get more torque. You can with either one, especially the bottom one. That little 7/16 nut down there rounds off real easy if you try to do all the torque with that little wrench. It'll round that sucker right off. Okay, so these push rods are in there, nice and loose. So now I have to turn the motor over one turn, and then this one will come up on this side. So we got to do here, back up a little bit. I have the luxury of using the sprocket nut over here. That's one I hit now. Tool. So we turn the motor over. And we'll have compression here. Right now we're on suction. 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 Almost none. Now it's coming up. Okay, use a Phillips screwdriver. Don't lay it like that, you'll bend it off. If you put a flat blade in there, the tip will break off. So you want to take a screwdriver, hold it straight up and down as much as you can. And see how it just hits the piston? It just pushes the piston out of the way and it drops back down, it doesn't dig in. If you had it like that, it'll bend it in half. And can break the tip off. Okay, that's top dead center, quit moving. Back on this side. Now remember how that was up in the air before? Now it's down. See, before it was up here like this. It was on the overlap stroke, it was open. Now these are down, now these are tight. See, these don't move because they're open right now. They're both open together right now. It's on the overlap. Okay, so now we're going to take This one here, this is going to be our intake. Stick it up in there. There it goes. Yep, it just popped up. And you see a lot of clearance on the, look how much clearance I got in length. And this one's tight. That's loose. So the intakes aren't sunk very far, so they're way up in the head. The exhausts are sunk quite a bit, that's why you have a little clearance on the back. I assume the back one will be like the front, we have almost none. Okay, make sure that's in there where it belongs. We're at 0 right there. One flat tight. Good. Another let that goes down all the way. Alright. See how that one unscrewed on us a little bit? Put a little torque on that, not too bad. Right there, it's just going loose right there. So it's moving. Okay, now we want one flat loose. So we go half a flat. It was like this, now it's triangle to me. And we take both of them together and we torque it. See now the other flat's right to me, it's one full flat loose. It's in there. Okay, that one's done. Last one. So sports are nice and easy to adjust the valves because they're all they're independent. A lot of room between each one. Big twin, they kind of get in the way of each other. Okay, so this one here is going to be a problem. See, the push rod won't go in here because the adjuster's not down far enough. More than likely it won't go down any further. We'll see. Yeah, we got a little bit extra. Good. Surprised we got more. Okay, everything's tight now. The nut's tight against the adjuster, adjuster's tight in the lifter. We can't get no more. So now let's see what we got here. If we're lucky it'll go in. It went in. Perfect. Now you go ahead and loosen things up a little bit. Rattle around up in there pretty heavy. See, I moved around a lot. Get to actually figure out where the rocker's at. See, once it's straightened up, it's in the rocker right now. Okay. So, tight, one flat. I'd already adjusted that. Okay, this nut's got a little torque to it. When the nuts get kind of bad, they start getting tight all the time. The tighter they are, the worse the nuts are. That means they're permanently collapsed onto the adjusting screw. Gives you an idea of the condition of things when you have to take it and force it down all the way. Luckily on this one we got a lot of room. This one here we didn't. On the old one you got a distributor right here or a magneto, and it's really hard to get into these things. They're buried. It's really hard to do the job. Okay, we just unscrewed the push rod a little bit. Okay, we're just starting a little torque on it. And the push rod is light drag. So I'm going to start our turn now. There's that. Tight. Okay, nice and loose. Alright. Those are adjusted. Now what I do is I turn the motor over. Make sure nothing goes bang, bang, bang. There's a big pop noise. That's not good. Sometimes you'll see the push rods actually flex out like this. Camera, the flush rods will go flex like this when things are binding up. Not a good sign. Turns over nice and freely. Of course, I got a lot of leverage over here, but you can still feel binding when things are not working correctly. Okay, that feels pretty good. Happy with that. So now we go over here and we put the push rod clips up. So I use a medium screwdriver for that. It works the best. I wedge this in here, I put that in there, and I slide up the wedge, and it works. Now the wider screwdriver, you get too much area, and a skinny one, it wants to rip and tear it. So, when you use this one, it wants to shear it right off, which is no good. And this big fat one, it hits too far on the outside, it's harder to get it in and out. The medium one works just perfect, goes right up and pops in there. Make sure you put the inner tube up in there before you put the clip in here. I see a lot of bikes coming out with oil leaks for the tubes. This is just stuffed up in there. Put the inner tube in there. How are you going to seal up if the thing's wide open? There's a reason why that tube is there. So you lay it up in there, put a little pressure on it. Come here with a screwdriver and wedge it in. Like that, pop it up. Take it and rotate both pieces together. That lets it kind of center up and the O-rings will center up. Very important. So this one here, same thing. Put the tube up, make sure it goes up into the cover. This here. Yeah, it's hard to see with my arm in the way, but it's kind of awkward doing it this way, but you're supposed to push on the bottom. Go like that, push it in, just kind of like a shoe wedge. So rotate this here so both pieces work. The clip's not rotating, the whole thing's rotating. Like I said, that centers everything all up real nice. This one here, we do the same thing. Now we just started hitting the fins on the back side. Now when the fin gets in the way, this here, when it goes down, hits on the fins, and you can't get to go down any further. And you got to take two screwdrivers and go back and forth like this and compress the cover here. So you can compress it down. You have to kind of walk it down. Sometimes you got to put a screwdriver on the back side and shove it out to get off the fins. It's like this is the cover, it hits on the fin in here. So you got to get it out so it'll clear the fin. This motor hasn't been any problems, it's nice. It's cut away enough. I like that. The last few motors I've done have been a pain in the butt. This one works pretty good. Alright, now the bad part of the covers, if we see it, put them toward the rear. This one here is fairly good, they look good. Okay, so we're almost done. Customer's going to bring a plug down for here, tap plug. He doesn't know about this problem yet, we'll go over that when he gets here. We need some spark plugs in here so no dirt gets in here, kind of important. So we're going to use some resistor spark plugs because it's electronic ignition. Don't use a non-resistor plug with electronics, and don't run resistor plugs on point ignitions. Don't mix. Okay, so you want to make sure the caps are tight on the top. Not all these unscrew, these ones do. These are 1/2 inch reach. The motor's made to take 7/16 reach. So you either put a 3/8 plug in there or a 1/2 inch plug in. A 1/2 inch plug in sticks in there nice and proud and puts that way out there so it burns good. 3/8 puts this inside the hole real deep like that, which doesn't burn very good. If it's an oil burner, it'll keep it from fouling the plug out a little bit, but you want to stick it way out where it runs best. So you can either put anti-seize on these or not. It's up to you. I'll let him figure that part out. We got to check the gap though, see what the gap is. Looks pretty close. Let's go ahead and get the correct tools. We'll do it correctly. We're half-assed doing it right. takes longer when you do everything correctly. So this is a little plug japping tool. They call it a little silver dollar thing. Anyway, you go in here and see what the gap is. This is gapped at 25 right now. So you can stick it in here like this and open it up like that. We're at 30 right now, or you can just kind of bend it a little bit, go up a little bit at a time. With the fat electrodes, you can do that. On the thin ones, you can't do that. Okay, so we're going to bump this up. When you go too much, just hit on the bench down there and it'll close it up. So we're at 35 right now. Electronic ignition runs 35. This one's at 24. There's 35 on that one. See, now you can actually see a gap in there. Okay, we're going to use some anti-seize. This one's called Never Seize. It's a brand name, I guess. It's this crap here. Whatever you do, do not put this on your spark plug. It will not run again, ever. So if you want to piss somebody off, you put a little dab of that right there, and that will never start again. There's a lot of little tricks you can do to make bikes never run again. You gotta be careful of this stuff because, like I said, if it gets on that gap, it'll kill it. If it gets on the white insulator part, it'll kill it too. This has metal in it. The electricity goes down the metal and not across the gap. Don't put too much on here, it'll spread around. There's a little bit. So I got about 50% coverage on there at best. For some reason, you don't want to go in the spark plug holes. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Shouldn't have to force these to put them in, but it's going in the right spot, but it's going pretty tight. I don't know why. Must be a bunch of paint or something in there. Nothing goes easy on this motor. It's in there now. Nothing's on the tip. That's important. When you put it in there after you put anti-seize, you gotta be careful too. Okay, it's going there tight, so it's going. Well, these will loosen up on. You got to torque them a couple times before they take a set to them. Okay, let's see what's going on with this one here. First thing you want to do is look at the spark plug and make sure you're not cocked, cross-threaded. So it looks like it's perpendicular to the head that way, and also this way. So it looks like it's in there correctly. Try to force it in a little bit. Put a little bit more leverage on it with a socket. If you put it with your hand, you're not cross-threading because there's no way you can overcome the pressure with torque with your hand. So it's going in there, it's just tight. So my guess is a lot of paint or something on there. See, tight by hand is not very tight with a ratchet. Same deal, we'll do it once, pull it out. Take a look at it, make sure everything's good. Make sure I didn't put anything on a tip right there. You hit the thread in there, so you gotta be careful. Make sure it's clean. See the goop right there on the top? Too close. It could bounce in the chamber and get in the plug. That's when it bounced out. Okay, so you gotta put it in straight so you don't goop it up in there. So the anti-seize can be dangerous too. I don't always anti-seize every motor. Ironheads usually don't need it. Twin cams always need it. Evos have 50-50. Chevrolets, Panas usually have steel inserts. They don't really need it. Okay, so that's in there. Plug's adjusted. So he wants me to put the primary cover on here, but we're not going to torque it. So we got to make sure you put the gasket over the stud right here. It does two things. It seals up the stud so it doesn't leak down the stud. But it also, it's the same thickness of the gasket, so when you tighten the cover down, it doesn't force the cover to bend in, which can break it. So this is the early gasket, which is just nice and even coming down. This is the late gasket. It has the dip in it. They changed in '77. This goes all the way up through 90. All 4-speed bikes use this one that are late. All the early bikes use the other one. So this just goes underneath the spring here. Stick it over the dowel pins. There's 3 dowel pins, one here, one on the bottom down there. Usually the chain shoe tensioner is pushing on the gasket, so it's trying to tear it. And they cut these gaskets really tight on the holes. Nice snug fit over the dowels. Cometic makes their stuff really loose, so it would just fall on there. I'd rather have them a little tight. Okay, so here's our primary cover. Well, I have not finished this up yet. Damn, I forgot to. Yeah, more work. It's dirty. Yuck. Alright, I got to do a little work. I got to Loctite the bushing in, I got to put a seal in it, and I got to clean it. Damn, the thing is filthy. Here I was, I thought I was done. Damn. Oh well. Almost. I said that an hour or two ago. So see now it's 1:30 right now, see. So it's tomorrow. See, I get an early start on a day. Everybody says I come in late. Oh, I'm here early. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this cover up and then I'll be back. We do a little work on this thing. Almost done though.